What up, fam? This is Chief X, the God Best reincarnated. Bring you some old common sense science. So check it out. We going in today, family. It's all over after this, okay? So the topic is more science and history debunked. Who were the Moors? Who were the real Moors? Just a compilation of these things I'm throwing out, right? And let's go first to define what a Moor is, okay? Bear with me because I'm not that computer literate, so I'm using my camera to do this, right? Just in general, a basic definition of what a Moor is. A Moor is a Muslim of mixed Berber and Arab people inhabiting Northwest Africa. Let me just add on a little bit. A Moor is a combination of things and peoples. Mainly what they have in common is they're Muslim. Okay? They're Muslim. They're a mix of Berber and Arab and a little bit of African people. Majority of the Africans who are called Moors are converts forced into Islam. Okay? Let's move on. Originally, I made a video about 3 weeks ago telling people that Black Moors, not Moors, Black Moors, which is exotic art figurines or jewelry. It's not people. A Black Moor is not a person or people, it's jewelry. And it's exotic jewelry and art figurines of servants. As you see, they're serving plates. And I don't want to go too long on this because I already went into this, but Black Moors are servants and they're servants everywhere you look. Okay, now, this picture right here is on the cover of a book. Right? And people think, oh, this is some high-class Moorish chief or Moroccan chief or some kind of Spanish chief. But no, as you see right here, the date of this painting is 1878. Okay? It's at the Philadelphia. Hold on. I don't know if y'all can see that far. But right here, it's at the Philadelphia Museum of Art. And it's a breakdown of this picture, its origin and where it came from. Okay? This is a 19th century Orientalist painting. It's not a picture of a Moor in the time periods of 700 up and even up until 1700. From 700 AD up to 1700. This picture is a painting, and it's not a Moor of that time. It's a painting of a servant. Okay, and let me show you what I mean. It's a picture of a servant, right? And he's wearing what they call a burnous outfit. Okay? The painting was dubbed the Moorish chiefs only after arriving at the Philadelphia Museum of Art in 1917. The original title, The Guardian of the Seraglio, identifies the man as a harem guard and therefore a royal slave soldier, not a native Maghrebi chieftain. It's a picture. Oops, where'd it go? Okay, I passed that. But it's a picture of a royal slave soldier guarding that was painted hundreds of years later. Okay? Guardian. What is he guarding? He's guarding the property and things of the Arabs and Berbers who enslaved the African and Islamized him. Okay? Were the North Africans known as Moors black? was the title of this brief little article. Then it goes to talking about the Tuareg and their DNA. Goes to saying that, wait a minute. Oh, the outfit that this painting that he has on, right? Let me get to it. Bear with me, y'all, because this is going to get deep. It's a Bernos outfit. Let's click on Bernos and see what it says. Bernos, Bernos or Berber, Arabic, also spelled Bernous or Bernos. From the Berber, Abernus is a long cloak of coarse woolen fabric with a hood, usually white in color, worn by Berbers. In North Africa, the color of the Bernos, is white, beige, or dark brown. Okay? That's a part of the culture of the Berbers. Right? And as you can see here, that's a Bernos he got on. This is Berber man. That's the outfit. That's the name of that outfit. Bear with me, fam. This is about to get interesting. Okay, so let me go back. Also, and let me skip that. Okay, these are some books that you can get on the subject. It's basically talking about the Arab slave trade, right? Slavery in Morocco. And who was they enslaving? Okay? One question I always have that has been ignored for 5 years now. And I ask the same question, no more will address it because it's a dagger question. Who was in Morocco prior to 700 AD? See, when they answer that question, they'll have to admit that, hey, we didn't go up in Morocco and conquer our own people. It was another people there first. Meaning that they will have to admit that that's not their land. Who was there in Morocco prior to 700? I'm going to tell you, it was Roman provinces. It was Berbers setting up camp. Okay? Wasn't no Africans or West Africans around that mountainous area. Okay? Serving the master. Look at this book. This book, I believe, is $480. Pick it up. It'll break all this down to you. And look, it's a bunch of Africans, which they call Moors, and their master, which is also called a Moor. See, the Berbers and Arabs slaves were Africans who were Muslims. So the Berber, the Arab, and the African slaves were all called Moors. All of them were called Moors. It's not a color designation word. And they're telling you who these people were serving. Serving the master, slavery in society in 19th century Morocco. Now that's after the conquering of Spain, but pay attention. Bear with me, fam. This is a PDF book, The Register of Slaves of Sultan Moulay Ismail of Morocco at the turn of the 18th century. I had a question, y'all, and I asked, I asked this a few days ago, name one black African who ruled Spain or Morocco, and give me the documentation, times, and everything in his name. This was up 2 days ago, and I said I got $20 for anybody who can post that information. 2 days later, nobody came up with anything. No one has found one African black who ruled Spain or Morocco. And I went back, not to just 700, from 1 AD up until 2017. 2,000 year span period, and not one person can come up with an African that ruled Spain and Morocco. Not one. Except Ismail Bey, my good brother, came up with one person. And that person's name was Moulay Ismail of Morocco at the turn of the 18th century. This is like 1700s, way after the invasion of Spain by so-called Moors, or I would like to say Arabs and Berbers, with their army of slaves and servants, which are Africans. Okay, this is what came up with. And this guy was a mulatto, according to some sources. It's not clear yet, but he was a mulatto. His mother was a African slave. His daddy was an Arab. So like I always told you, when the Arab slave trade was jumping on, Arabs was enslaving Africans and screwing African women. And them babies that came out didn't know where their allegiance was with, their mother or their daddy. Most all of them had allegiance with their daddy, the Arab. So this guy, who was a mixed sultan and was in charge, the only one found in 2,000 years, was mixed. Part African, part Arab. And listen to what they say about the guy. Indeed, this source is significant and original because it reveals the system and the process through which the Muslim black Moroccans and those who had sub-Saharan origin were enslaved or re-enslaved. Right? This article is part of my research on the history of black Africans who were enslaved through forced conscription by the Sultan Moulay Ismail in the late 17th century Morocco. Research based in part on a rich manuscript that I discovered in the Moroccan archives entitled Daftar. I can't even pronounce these words, don't make me try. But it's just basically saying that this man was enslaving Africans into his army. Right? Let me go here. The Islamic world was a little bothered when he was seized by a lot of this reading because enslaving people was against Islamic law. But the politics at the time, people could get away with that. So if you want to check that out, the Register of Slaves of Sultan Moulay Ismail of Morocco at the turn of the 18th century. Another work, a critical analysis of the process of racialization in Morocco. I'm going to add these links to the video, and you guys will be able to go look at them. It goes all into Morocco and racism in Morocco and the history of it. Another book, I got this as a PDF book, Black Gods of the Metropolis, Negro Religious Cults of the Urban North. One of the religion cults it listed is the Moorish Science Temple of America. Goes in depth into it. It's another good source you guys can check out. Table of contents right here goes into the Moorish Science Temple of America. Just a great source on it. Another source, Slaves and Slavery in Muslim Africa. Volume 2. Also available as a printed book. Slavery and Slaving in Muslim Africa. Slaves and Slavery in Muslim Africa. Table of contents. Let me keep going. This is what I wanted to read also. Racism towards blacks in Morocco and Maghreb, a taboo topic. Because in Morocco, in Mauritania, slavery is going on heavily, and it was going on heavily. Hold on. Let me just say this. For the underlining superiority complex dates back to antiquity, ancient times. At that time, there were thousands of black slaves in Morocco. Not blacks ruling things or running things in Morocco, but black slaves in Morocco. Some were part of the Moroccan military corps and the civilian guard, while others fulfilled various tasks given to them during the reign of Ahmed el Mansour, or even that day of Mulai Ismail. This guy is in the news in an article written in 2010 as enslaving Africans with his mixed ass. Okay, but slavery was never officially abolished. The French protectorate at the beginning of the 20th century simply forbade the act. But the initiative never came from Moroccan society itself, says the historian, while making reference to a book written by Mohammed Soledats, which I looked up this book by Mohammed Anachi, and it's in French. Okay, so it also goes to understand it's rare for a Moroccan woman to marry a black man. Just talking about racialism. Black in Morocco, the nightmare of students and immigrants. Black students return home after their studies. And it's a nice little article, but it is saying in ancient times, thousands of blacks were slaves in Morocco. And that's true. I keep telling people North Africa, which I consider Algeria, Morocco, and Mauritania, it was always Eurasian. That's one part of Africa that wasn't really inhabited much by sub-Saharan Africans and black Africans. Let's not play with words, you know what I mean. Okay? There were Moors and Eurasians, Berbers and Arabs in that area. Okay, here goes another little journal, another article in the Times, talking about Mauritania, gazing across the broad blue expanse of the Senegal River into Mauritania. It's just, and the guy is talking about, let me see. He's talking about the Moors taking over their land. And when he calls them Moors, he's talking about Berbers. Mr. Watt is a black man who was pushed out of Mauritania because of the Moors, which includes the Berbers and the Arabs. I will also provide this link because it's an article that was in the Times newspaper. And when they were calling Moors, they weren't talking about Africans. Okay, so one more second. Bear with me, y'all, you know. So, as I was saying, these blackamoors are images of servants for a reason. They're serving. They're servants. The blackamoors, they're servants. They drew them as servants because they were always servants to Moroccans and Arabs and Berbers, Mauritanians and Algerians. They were always servants. They never ran nothing. Nobody can come up with one black African in 2,000 years of the Moroccan Spain history that ran anything. And the one person they come up with is a mulatto. And that mulatto was enslaving Africans. There's article after article about it. Who was in Morocco prior to 700? The whole history we have of the Moorish Science Temple, Moors in history, is wrong and romanticized. Because we followed Black American scholars who had a slant and a biased attitude towards the topic or were misinformed. Moors were not just black, dark people. They were Berber and Arab Muslims mixed. A Moor was anyone who was a Muslim in North Africa. That's bottom line what a Moor is. Y'all can play with the word all you want to. But a Moor is anyone who was a Muslim in North Africa from 600 up until now. That's what a Moor is. A Moor is not just you. This whole Afrocentric thing we've been doing for years and trying to make everything black is wrong. There were no black Chinese. Chinese are Chinese. Japanese are Japanese. You're African, you're African. You can't claim what mutated thousands and thousands of years later. That's not you. Stick to your glorious history in Africa. South Africa, West Africa, East Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa. That's all you. Leave Native American history alone. That's not yours. Stop stealing it. Leave Moorish history and the conquering of Spain alone. That's not your history and that's not you. It's not. You are an African and that's where your glorious history happened. Your glorious history didn't happen in the Americas. It didn't happen in Spain or Morocco. It happened in Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, South Africa, East Africa, West Africa. That is your heritage and history. Leave other people's shit alone. The Moors are not you. The Africans that went up in Spain and Morocco were servants and slaves of the Berbers and Arabs. The Berbers and Arabs ran things. I'm telling you what's happening. They ran shit. So, like, here's Morocco and there's Spain. You see the distance? You can backstroke. When these people were coming down, these were Eurasian people who were here prior to so-called Moors, Arabs, and Berbers, and partly the African army entering there. They were Eurasian people. And I know this hurts, but we got to get to the reality and stop this false romanticization of African history. I'm Chief X. I'm out.